Mammography is one of the best screening tools to find breast cancer.
Breast cancer may not be preventable, but you can survive it through early detection. If you're a mother or grandmother, sister or best friend, aunt or cousin,
We encourage you to know your risk, make healthy lifestyle choices, and to know what's normal for your body.
get screened, get your mammogram annually. We did!
Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned into MB12 Weekend, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight in news, calls for accountability for deaths in police custody. What the Bar Association president says government should concentrate on instead of new criminal courts. The Ministry of Health releases a new advisory on Ebola plus gifts for a local pioneer in breast cancer awareness. I'm Paige McCartney. We've got those stories and more straight ahead on MB12 Weekend. Joining us. It's been more than 2 weeks since an unidentified man died in police custody, and authorities have yet to reveal the cause of death. That death preceded the death of convicted murderer Forrester Bowe at Her Majesty's prison last week. Well, one attorney who frequently represents the families of people who die in police custody is calling for transparency and accountability in these and related cases. Kyle Joaquin reports.
The man who was referred to as John Doe by police was found dead in a locked cell at the Wolf Road Police Station. Following his death, Police Commissioner Ellison Greenslade said police would clean up his face so that a picture could be taken and circulated in hopes that loved ones would identify the man. Reports are that the man who was arrested for vagrancy may have died as a result of self-inflicted wounds. But attorney Christina Galanos said that death and the recent death of Bowe highlight concerns of the safety of prisoners and those in police custody.
I think it's a major issue in terms of the administration of justice, because in the perception of the public, it creates a double standard. Why is it that police officers can brutalize somebody in police custody and there appears to be no immediate consequence? And these are the same people that police us. They are the ones who, they're the law, essentially. They tell us right from wrong. They arrest us when it's deemed that we've done something wrong. And where the public loses confidence and trust in police officers, you have a serious problem.
Police were scrutinized last year following the deaths of 2 men in police custody. Galanos represented the families of those victims, Aaron Roll and Jamie Smith. The coroner's court found Roll's death at the Southern Police Station was an unlawful killing. Roll died of a ruptured intestine caused by blunt force trauma to his abdomen 2 days after his arrest on charges of escape and armed robbery. The officers involved were placed on administrative leave. However, no charges have been filed against them as a result of the jury's verdict. Galanos said the family is still awaiting justice.
It's not about, oh, somebody didn't go to jail for the death in police custody. That's not what it's about. It's about the proper functioning of this country and the justice system. That is what it's about. And that's what we're fighting for. That's the bigger picture. You know, even if they don't go to jail, hold a trial. Make a decision. Say what it is. If you're not going to prosecute them, say why. The public is at least entitled to that. If there's an appeal process, tell us when the appeal is going to come on.
When someone dies in police custody, the matter is automatically transferred to the coroner, as the Coroner's Act mandates the holding of an inquest when a person dies in a place of detention. During an inquest, information is presented concerning the victim's death in order for the jury to determine the cause and manner of death.
The coroner, after the inquest, can make recommendations as to what she thinks should be implemented and whether she thinks the interested parties should face any further consequences, which was done in the Aaron Roll case. And thereafter, it's really up to the Attorney General to decide what is going to happen.
Now, Galanos also pointed out that by law, a person is still presumed innocent until proven guilty, and she said they should always be treated that way. Reporting for NB12, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Well, following comments by Chief Justice Sir Michael Barnett that the creation of 10 criminal courts by year's end would prove problematic, President of the Bahamas Bar Association Ellsworth Johnson told MB12 that while it may be difficult to accomplish, the creation of those courts is necessary.
The reason why we need more courts at this time is that there's a concept in law that justice must not only be done, but it must be seen to be done. And we must always try our best to uphold public confidence in the system, because when that breaks down, people tend to take the law into their own hands. So it's absolutely necessary.
The government plans to have 10 additional courts running by the end of this year in response to the limited number of cases that are heard each year. Attorney General Allison Maynard Gibson said recently that provisions were made for additional judges to be appointed. But Johnson said there are more pressing issues facing members of the judiciary.
I can appreciate the concerns of the Honorable Chief Justice, because I think history has taught us that as a people we aren't prepared to put the necessary resources into the facilities, the administration of justice, to cause them to function properly. Our judges are there, and they're there to do the matters in an efficient and timely manner. But when you have roofs that are leaking, the Court of Appeal roof that collapsed, the toilet facility, the laboratory facilities at the Magistrates Court on Nassau Street malfunctioning, those things militate against the administration of justice.
However, Johnson said money would be better spent on investing in education and social programs so that there isn't a need for more criminal courts.
The concentration should not just be on the courts. The concentration must also be social in terms of restorative justice and dealing with our families. What we should be doing is trying to prevent young men, because the majority of young men between the ages of 15 and 25, from entering the system. Society and the family is broken down, and this is what you're having. It's unfortunate that to deal with our social problems, we're seeing it in terms of building more courts. We're supposed to be giving those funds, in the ideal Bahamas as I see it, should be going to the university, to facilities in the outer islands, right? To factories in the outer islands. We should not be concentrating on courts, but as it stands today, the reality is that that is where we are.
And from the crime beat tonight, police are seeking the public's help in solving 3 separate armed robberies. The first incident took place just after 5:30 yesterday afternoon in the Winton Estates area. A woman was in the front of her home when 2 men armed with handguns robbed her of her 2013 Kia Sportage, license plate number 277899. Police say the second incident happened at around 8:30 last night when a woman was at an eatery in Oaksfield when 2 armed assailants robbed her of her cell phone and ran away. And then at around 1:30 this morning, police say 2 men armed with handguns robbed a business establishment on West Bay Street before fleeing on foot. If you have any information on these or any of these incidents, police want you to contact them at 328-TIPS or 919. The Ministry of Health is advising all travelers experiencing any Ebola symptoms within 21 days of coming from an Ebola-affected area to contact their healthcare provider immediately. The deadly disease has spread rapidly across Western Africa and has killed 1 person so far in the United States. Symptoms including vomiting, diarrhea, rash, impaired kidney and liver function, and in some cases both internal and external bleeding. In a press statement today, the Ministry of Health urged persons who do travel to affected areas to ensure that necessary precautions are taken to avoid exposure, especially avoiding the bodily fluids of symptomatic patients. The ministry acknowledged that complacency will threaten the nation's national security, adding that they will not leave any stone unturned. Thus, after assessment, definitive plans and actions for improving the system readiness have been enacted, including the procurement of personal protective equipment, defining reporting structures and mechanisms, establishing linkages with international organizations and testing facilities, training of personnel and relevant recognition and treatment protocols, among other actions. In addition, as a result of discussions with the Pan American Health Organization, a national Ebola response plan has been drafted. Some within the healthcare profession have questioned whether health officials in the Bahamas are prepared in the event someone with Ebola enters the Bahamas. The ministry said they will remain vigilant in ensuring that the population's health is protected from this and all threats with the most appropriate response they can provide Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell said the country remains on high alert as other Caribbean countries have implemented travel bans due to Ebola. But he added that this is no time to panic. Well, in its current form of the Freedom of Information Act is missing key provisions that protect personal information from undue disclosure. And that's according to Data Protection Commissioner Sharmi Farrington-Austin, who told NB12 there's currently a working group for the FOIA, which she's a part of, re-examining the act to ensure once its new draft is made public, it will be able to stand the test of time.
It is important for the public to understand that we must get it right. I think we're all, from where I sit, open to the idea of open governance, and from where I sit and from what the mandate that has been given to me by the policy makers, there's a commitment to open governance. I think from our perspective, we need to ensure that we're properly going through the processes. At the end of the day, we want to ensure that we have the best possible legislation and that it can stand the scrutiny of time.
Many people have called for the Freedom of Information Act passed by the previous Ingram administration to be enacted. However, the Data Protection Commissioner believes there were too many exemptions, which defeats its purpose. She adds that the present draft before government is a concern in terms of protecting an individual's personal information. According to Austin, if the act is going to work, there has to be balance between it and the Data Protection Act.
The public requests information from the various from the various agencies, and there is a complaint in that they would say they did not get the information that they requested. They can make an appeal to the Information Commissioner, and that Information Commissioner will investigate and make a determination as to whether or not the information should have been disclosed. So certainly there will be a greater role for the Data Protection Commissioner's office to play in the upcoming years.
The commissioner did not put a time frame on when she expects the working group to complete its draft. However, she said it's most important the group takes this time to ensure a person's personal information does not intertwine with the government. And the Governor General doesn't give interviews. That's one of the new guidelines issued yesterday to the media, who were also advised by Government House that if they wish to interview people making courtesy calls on Dame Marguerite Pinling, they cannot do it inside Government House or anywhere on the premises. According to the document, which is titled Procedures for Members of the Media are free to make separate arrangements for such interviews elsewhere. The new rules go against the more open culture at Government House that had been promoted by former Governor General Sir Arthur Folkes, who gave multiple interviews while serving in the highest office in the land. Sir Arthur was a journalist by profession. Other former governors generals also spoke to the media, and they also allowed reporters to interview people visiting Government House. Multiple interviews have been conducted at Government House in the last year alone. The statement issued yesterday does not indicate whether media personnel acted in any inappropriate manner or had created a nuisance in conducting interviews on the compound of Government House. The statement also does not advise what the repercussions would be if the new rules are violated. The guidelines have been taken effect immediately. They come months after Speaker of the House of Assembly, Dr. Kendall Major, issued stringent parliamentary rules to the media, most of which he rescinded after the media outcry. Photographers, however, are not allowed to take pictures of anyone in the House chamber unless they are speaking on the floor. The new Government House rules were widely circulated on social media yesterday and roundly criticized. They were issued on the same day Dame Marguerite returned to Nassau after she had a trip to London, where she had an audience with Queen Elizabeth II. When NB12 returns, one organization is teaching the importance of farming to young people, and a breast cancer survivor showered with gifts. Stay with us.